Tony, there will be those, they're out there already, saying that for the coalition to be relevant in the future, it must embrace progressive values. Now, I don't want to say that all progressive values, by any means, should not be considered, discussed, that there's not room for them, that people shouldn't have freedom of choice. But the reality is that we have passed peak woke. So you've got to be careful about which side of history you're really on, to use that silly term that people talk about. But more than that, I think there are two great fundamental flaws in progressivism that people should take into account. And they arise out of what you've been saying, or I'm prompted by them out of that. The first is that much progressivism is, in fact, for want of a better term, chronologically snobbish. It believes that all wisdom resides in the current time. It doesn't. And we make a fatal flaw by not teaching our history properly, particularly, I would argue, the beliefs that drove the values that drove our culture, and the story of our heroes. When you talk heroes, you realise they were heroes about something. They confronted tough times. They displayed courage, resilience, nobility of spirit. We don't teach our young people those things. So the chronological snobbery is a real problem. It's very limiting. It denies people, particularly young people, a sense of place and time and purpose, a grounding. The other great problem with it is that it assumes that all cultures are equal. All cultures are not equal.
Correct.
Go and have a look at the trouble spots in the world and ask yourself about some of the cultures that we so freely, on the one hand, condemn, and on the other hand, then we want to argue, oh no, there's nothing superior about our culture. Yes, there is.
Of course there is.
There absolutely is. There's much that's worth defending, much that's worth fighting for.
Look,
and the other fine point I make is it's been a failure. Progressivism is not succeeding. We're more divided, we're poorer, we're more challenged, we're less just as societies, and our young people are really not doing very well.
No, exactly right. And look, John...
some are, but...
I think it was John Howard who said that a conservative is someone who doesn't think he's morally superior to his grandfather.
Yeah, well, makes the point in another way.
And I think it was, I can't remember whether it was Aquinas or Newton who said that if we see far, it's because we stand on the shoulders of giants.
And we do in this country.
We do.
But we're not seeing very far.
We're not seeing very far, and we don't acknowledge the giants on whose shoulders we stand. And the task of each generation is to respectfully build on its heritage.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that the heritage can't be revised, reconsidered, modified, but it should be a respectful process, because we are who we are because of all of those who've gone before us. We know ourselves that all our yesterdays shape today and help to influence tomorrow. And this is where, those who lived before have made an incredible contribution to those who live today, and indeed to those who live tomorrow. And Burke's famous phrase, society is a trust between those who are living, those who are dead, and those who are yet to be born. I mean, we need to remember all of that, and we need to take it seriously. And it starts by rediscovering our history. Yes, our history in this country, but also our prehistory in Britain, in Rome, in Greece, in the Holy Land, because all of that has made an extraordinary contribution to what we have here in this country today, and that should be cherished.